Hello everyone, my name is Brianna Nieves, and I chose Will Sims from Chapter 10 of our textbook titled Students with Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder. ADHD runs in my own family, and many of my closest friends also have this diagnosis, which makes it a particularly relevant topic within my own day-to-day life. According to IDEA, students with ADHD are not explicitly covered for additional help. However, under other health impairments, they can gain assistance with a 504 plan. This is defined as, and I'm excluding parts that do not directly deal with ADHD, having limited strength, vitality, or alertness, including a heightened alertness to environmental stimuli that results in limited alertness with respect to the educational environment due to attention deficit disorder or attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. I will also include the definition offered by APA in the DSM-5. There are two domains, inattentive and hyperactivity/impulsivity, that interfere with students' development and functioning in multiple settings, including school. Some students will have a combination of both domains. To maintain brevity, I will focus on the type Will was diagnosed with, which is the predominantly inattentive type. Keep in mind, students must have difficulty with 6 or more of the following: paying attention to details, making careless mistakes, paying attention to academic and social activities, listening when someone speaks directly to them, following instructions, finishing tasks, organizing tasks and activities, sustaining mental effort, keeping track of necessary supplies, avoiding distractions, and remembering daily activities. I would like to point out that these are just symptoms of ADHD, and like most disorders and disabilities in the DSM-5, it is defined by how people that are neurotypical are affected by these behaviors. To really understand an individual with ADHD, you must know that all of these symptoms are linked to executive function. Executive function is, at its most basic level, the brain's way of holding itself accountable towards a goal. Babies are not born with this capability. This is important when we are considering that ADHD is an executive function disorder, meaning inherently this process does not develop the same way as in others. There is a fantastic video by Child Mind Institute featuring Dr. Russell Barkley on ADHD and executive function that I encourage you all to watch if you're interested. But to summarize, he defines the ADHD disorder as time blindness, highlighting the difficulty persons with ADHD have completing goals. To assess Will's strengths and needs, I would start by looking at the information already available to me. This would be in the form of grades, parent and teacher observations, test scores, and in this case, his mother paid for an evaluation to be given to Will. So I would use that as well. If I were the teacher to notice Will was struggling, I would follow the non-discriminatory evaluation process by first observing his actions, followed by screening. Unfortunately, most screenings will not detect ADHD in students, considering the academic achievement of these individuals varies greatly from struggling to giftedness. After a pre-referral and referral, the only assessments that would find new information would be a psychological evaluation and a behavior rating scale. In Will's case, the school district was required by IDEA to pay for Will's evaluation, but his mother took agency and paid for it for herself, as the process for getting this evaluation would have stalled the implementation of supports and accommodation that Will needed. One evaluation given to students who have been diagnosed with ADHD is the Attention Deficit Disorders Evaluation Scale, because it identifies interventions for these students. In the textbook, we find out that Will is spending most of his time in the general education classroom. For one class period per day, he receives help on his homework from a special educator. In addition to that, whenever there are tests, he takes them by himself because most students with ADHD have trouble with distractions. This is consistent with IDEA's goal for least restrictive environment. Something else that can be implemented into regular classroom instruction is just working on organization and time management skills. It can be as simple as showing students how to organize a binder, how to take notes, or using the Pomodoro method. Something else you can do is have consistent breaks throughout class. I don't know if it's still like this today, but I remember as early as 2nd grade, from the moment we arrived into our classroom until lunchtime, we were sitting in our desks, sitting still, listening to the teacher. It's important for all students, but especially students with ADHD, that they have a moment every once in a while to be able to get out of their chairs and stretch and move on from the current tasks. Will is also treating his ADHD with medication, and educators need to be familiar with potential side effects and dose intervals for this. I would like to briefly mention an intervention which I think I would implement if I oversaw Will's case. There is a small section with a video in the textbook, but it does not really describe what it is. This intervention is called HOPS, which stands for Homework Organization and Planning Skills. It focuses on physical organization and homework management, as the name implies, but it is a clinic-based intervention delivered by psychologists with 20 sessions over a 10-week period. I could not find an actual description of the intervention, but they have resources they use on the program's official website. And what I gathered, there is a large amount of control dictated over the child's schedule. They will have an evening ritual. They will keep track of checklists that relate to homework preparedness and time management, and essentially instill a routine into the child's life so they get in the habit of preparing for things before they are due. Now, I think Will is in a pretty decent spot already in terms of support and accommodations, but I feel with an intervention like HOPS, he would really be able to take the reins of his education to push himself towards his overall goal of one day owning a car shop.